Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Quick Break Games, and today we're playing some Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. Special thanks to WB Games for sending me out to Gamescom to record this gameplay, and this time we're checking out the Ace Chemicals level. Now, there's 3 difficulties in this game you can choose from. There's Classic, Caped Crusader, and Dark Knight. Classics, like the traditional Lego games, we have unlimited lives, there's going to be fewer enemies. Caped Crusader is pretty much the same thing, except there's going to be some more enemies. And then Dark Knight mode, which is what I played, is where there's going to be the most enemies, there's going to be more enemy types, and you have 3 lives only. So after you die 3 times, you have to restart from the last checkpoint. So I went for that just because I wanted to see what a more challenging Lego game experience would be. So this level starts off with this stealth scenario. Now it looks like we're kind of in Gotham City, but we're not. This is actually part of a level, so it's like a sectioned off area of Gotham City that's been a little bit redesigned for the purposes of the level. And we got this little stealth scenario here where you can walk up behind enemies and do stealth takedowns. You can also do stealth takedowns from above, so there's quite a bit of variety there. So here you can see there's a bunch of enemies down below, and there's this shipping container above them, so you can see there's a target there. So we're going to pull out the Batarang, hit that target, and we can take out a bunch of enemies there with one move. Now we've hopped down here and we can begin the combat scenario. So I'm not going to show too much combat right now, we'll show that a little bit later, but I do want to show the suit selection that was available in the demo. So for Batman, there's 5 suits. There's the Rainbow Batman suit, which was in Lego Batman 3. There's the Golden Age, which you get for having a WB account. There's the 2022 Batman suit, and there's the Dark Knight Batman suit, which is what I'm going to use. There's also 35 suits total, if you include all the locked ones. That could change in the final game, we'll have to see, but at least as of the time of this demo, there seems to be 35 total suits. There was also the Brave and the Bold suit available for Batman. So Jim Gordon has 11 costumes total. There's Costume Party, Golden Age, and his appearance from the Batman. So there was 3 available in the demo, but there's going to be 11 total potentially in the final game. We'll have to see if that changes. So here you can see this grappling hook point. So what you can do is hit right on the D-pad to pull out the Bat Claw. So you grapple onto that, then you can just pull back on the left stick. And you can open up this shipping container. Inside is some teddy bears. So this level's all about hunting down Red Hood, who's in Ace Chemicals. And there's this little, I don't know what you call this little chemical mini game where you have to analyze the bears. And so basically what you're doing is there's going to be these little Lego bricks down below, so you have to find the matching Lego brick up above, and that kind of solves the element. So for this one, we just needed to find 2, and that kind of solves the puzzle. So you do that mini game 3 different times in this level. I'm not going to show it the other times just so we don't waste any time, but that's the first one. So over here, there's another combat scenario. You're going to see what happens when you die here on Dark Knight difficulty. I think I'm one of the few people that actually played on Dark Knight difficulty, so I'm not sure how many people have this footage, but there I got taken out and it says mission failed, and then it restarts me what looks like from the beginning of the level, but you can see there at the top left, I still have 1 out of 3 teddy bears analyzed, so it basically just restarts you from the last checkpoint. It doesn't actually restart you from the beginning of the level. That may be for, you know, the Gamescom demo purposes, I'm not sure, because I imagine in the full game they could just make you restart the entire level. I think that would be a much more appropriate punishment for Dark Knight difficulty, but we'll have to wait and see how they handle that. Commissioner Gordon has this foam gun that you can use to take out these pipes that are kind of shooting out acid. And so once we use him, we can then access this second teddy bear and analyze this. We just have to do that same mini game again. So we'll skip over that. So that's the second teddy bear analyzed there, and you can do these in any order. This is like a mini open world here to start off this level. It's like a little sectioned off area of Gotham City. And so now we're going to be going to the third and final one. We've got some more enemies here, so we can go in stealth, or we can go in loud. There's lots of different silent takedown variations as well. Lots of different animations, which is pretty cool. There I decided to use the Batarang, which was probably not the smartest because it alerted all the enemies down below. And so this final teddy bear is in this warehouse building of some sort. So I'm on the rooftop. So I'm trying to find a way in. So we're going to hop down here. The enemies haven't seen me yet. And here you can see these like gargoyle-like structures. So it's very reminiscent of the Batman Arkham games. We can use those to kind of get an overhead view of your enemies in stealth scenarios. And so here you can see I tried to open up this container, but the enemies started attacking me. So we're going to take care of all of them. Here, during the combat, I did have this little minor bug where one of the enemies got stuck in the ground. He just kept kind of falling into the ground. I couldn't interact with him at all. Commissioner Gordon was trying to shoot him with his foam gun, but nothing was happening. But just a little minor bug there. So now we're going to use the Bat Claw again to pull open this train. And inside is the third and final teddy bear. So Once again, we're going to hold triangle on that and do this mini game. We'll skip ahead there. And that is all 3 of the teddy bears analyzed. Now we can make our way inside of Ace Chemicals. So this level started off kind of open-ended in this sectioned off outdoors area. The rest of this level is going to be a lot more linear inside Ace Chemicals. So we're going to move over here, make our way around all of these shipping pallets here, and we can hold triangle to enter the factory. So once we get inside, we do have the introduction of a new enemy type. This is the Brute. So these are big fig enemies, so they're going to charge you. And you have to hit the circle button to roll out of the way, get them to ram into a wall or some sort of object, then you can start mashing the attack button to damage them. You just have to keep doing that over and over again. Commissioner Gordon can also shoot his foam gun on his head to kind of stun him that way as well. And by the way, I am skipping a lot of cutscenes. There's a lot of cutscenes in between these different areas. I figured I'd skip those just because you can probably watch those anywhere on a lot of other channels. I wanted to kind of stick to the gameplay for my videos covering this game. And so after we took out the Brute enemy, he gave us a key, which we can then use here to activate this elevator, which is going to lower down and take us into the next area. So once we get down here, we have a little puzzle scenario. And I've kind of found, a lot of people are making comparisons to the Arkham games with the combat. I find the levels to be pretty similar to the Arkham games as well, just in the sense that it kind of cycles between, a combat or stealth scenario, and then there do some puzzles in between. And then combat and stealth, it just kind of switches back and forth. So the levels are structured pretty similar to Batman Arkham as well, I would say. So here we have a puzzle. So there's a big kind of gap of acid that we need to get across. And so to do that, we're going to use Commissioner Gordon, use his foam gun on that pipe, which is going to clog it up and cause some Lego pieces to pop out. But we have to find even more Lego pieces. So there's going to be some more over here. There's this little fan that we can use the bat claw on. And anytime you get stuck, you can just push in the right stick, which is kind of like Batman's detective vision, and it'll kind of highlight what you need to do next. So that's pretty handy, because there was a couple times I got stuck, and then I just used that detective vision, and it showed me what to do next. So this built up a little fan, so buildables are back in this game. Then we can use that fan to give us some air to enable us to glide across the acid gap there. On the other side, there's a bunch of Red Hood enemies that we can take out, so we have another combat scenario here. And so if we skip ahead here, you're going to notice a vent in the ground. So once again, similar to the Batman Arkham games, you can use these vents to go under and kind of sneak up behind enemies. I've already taken them out though, so there weren't any enemies to sneak up on. There's another gargoyle we can grapple up on. The enemies haven't seen me yet, then I can just hop down and do a stealth takedown. And there, Commissioner Gordon actually did a stealth takedown on another enemy. So your co-op partner, I find in this game, is pretty useful. They don't just stand around and do nothing like a lot of the other Lego games. There we have some acid in our way, and once again we can use Commissioner Gordon's foam gun to kind of block that pipe. There's a blue stud. They're still worth 1,000. And something that surprised me about this game is how much you use your co-op partner. So again here I'm using Batman's bat claw to get around this fan. And after we do that, then we have to switch over to Commissioner Gordon and use his foam gun to clog up the fan. So the co-op partner is used pretty heavily in this game. If you watch the trailer, it very much feels like a Batman game, like you're only going to be playing as Batman, but that's actually not the case. Your co-op partner is used pretty heavily, at least in the levels I found. And there's going to be, 7 characters total, so there's going to be a bunch of co-op partners you're going to have throughout the game that are going to each have their own gadgets and abilities. So once we enter this next area, this is another stealth scenario. We can sneak up behind some enemies. There's gargoyles set up. I guess they're not technically gargoyles. They're like little vantage points set up around the area so you can do stealth. It would be cool if there was a way to like grapple up enemies onto your vantage point like you could in the Arkham games. Maybe that's an upgrade down the line, not sure. So there you can see some floor grading as well that I could have used. I didn't use it, but you could go underneath the ground there. So the level design is very good. There's lots of different ways you can tackle these scenarios, in terms of stealth, or you can, not use stealth at all and just kind of go batarangs blazing. I didn't want to say guns blazing because, Batman doesn't use guns. But here we are, we're initiating this combat scenario, taking out a bunch of enemies. And as you take out enemies, they do drop studs. And speaking of studs, I haven't noticed any sort of true hero, or whatever you want to call it, true Jedi meter at the top of the screen like you've traditionally seen in LEGO games. So it doesn't seem like there's any stud bar, but maybe that will be implemented later. I did ask one of the devs about that, and he wasn't sure if it was going to be in the final game or not, so we're going to have to wait and see on that. There is a purple stud, still worth 10,000, so purple studs do return in this game as well. And as we're progressing into this next area, I did want to give another shout out to WB Games for sending me out to Gamescom to record this exclusive demo. Here there's a little, I guess you could call it like a quick time event where you need to hold the X button, and Commissioner Gordon will kind of help you into the next area. I'm guessing those are like points of no return, so now I imagine we couldn't go back to the previous area if we missed a collectible or something like that. So that's something to look out for when the final game comes out. Here we have a Big Fig character that we just did a stealth takedown on. This is just like a big combat room here. So now we have a Big Fig character while we're fighting all of the regular enemies. And there's a bunch of different regular enemy types, shielded guys, all that good stuff. And I don't know what the enemy types would look like if I was playing on a lower difficulty, but here on Dark Knight, we've got Big Figs, we've got guys with guns. There I died again. Mission failed, and we just restarted from the beginning of the checkpoint. So yeah, again, I'm not sure if in the full game it'll restart you from the beginning of the level, but as of right now, it just restarts you from the beginning of the checkpoint. But yeah, Dark Knight difficulty is no joke. Lots of different enemy types to deal with. But after we take out all of them, there's going to be some destructible Lego objects, and that's going to allow us to build this little contraption. I would say buildables are like less common in this game compared to the old Lego games. Maybe not, but to me it seems like you use buildables a lot less. Like I think they were only used maybe 2 or 3 times throughout this whole level. So we're going to use the bat claw on that. There's going to be a cutscene, which I'm not going to show in this video. Now we're on to the next section, where we're kind of chasing down Red Hood. You've got all of this fire coming out of the pipes, so we're going to use Commissioner Gordon's foam gun to clog up the pipes. It's very similar to the glue grenade, if you've played Batman Arkham Origins back in the day. That game had a glue grenade gadget, which could clog up pipes. Here you can see a vent, and this kind of leads to a secret area that has a purple stud. So purple studs are almost like little hidden collectibles in this game. But so far we have no idea what studs even do in this game. I assume they're used to like buy suits and maybe upgrades. But you know, there's no true hero meter, so not sure what studs are going to do just yet. Maybe there's going to be true hero in the full game. We'll have to wait and see. Here is another buildable. So we're building up these little pads that we can then use to get up to the next area. And once we get up here, you're going to notice some acid coming out of these pipes. So once again, we can switch over to Commissioner Gordon, fire some foam on those pipes, and that'll allow us into the next area. And again, you've got an optional scenario here. So there was a bunch of enemies that didn't know we were here. I could have gone in stealth. I decided to go in loud. But I imagine if we went in stealth, there would have been a bunch of different options we would have to do that. So yeah, the levels are designed in such a way that you can pretty much go in either way, and you can kind of tackle the enemies any way that you want. And so we're going to take out all these enemies. Lots of shielded guys here that you have to use the circle button to jump over. Here we have to use the batarang to hit that little steering wheel on that pipe, which is then going to pour some water, allowing us to get to the next area. This initiates this little, almost like a boss fight with Red Hood, where he's going to be firing some rockets at you, and you just have to avoid them. There's nothing you can really do to attack Red Hood here. You're just kind of avoiding his rockets until the next cutscene plays. So it's kind of a cinematic moment. Looks like there's 4 rockets you have to dodge. And after you do that, there's going to be this little cutscene. He's going to start blowing stuff up here in Ace Chemicals, which is going to unlock the next area. There's some flames coming out of a pipe, so you know what that means. We got to switch back over to Commissioner Gordon and use his foam gun to clog up that pipe. And I imagine, like, in free play, there's going to be some collectibles, you know, that we couldn't get here in story mode. So, you know, with, like, the pipes, we can deal with those using Commissioner Gordon's foam gun. But I imagine in free play, there's some collectibles we can't get where we're going to need a gadget from, I don't know, another character that's in the game, like Batgirl or Catwoman, somebody like that. So I think free play will definitely still be a thing in this game. You're just going to need characters that you unlock later, and you'll have to use their gadgets to gather different collectibles. At least that's just me speculating. Here we have another cutscene here. The game is quite cinematic, so every now and then the game will pause to kind of show you what's happening next. I know there's some people who don't like that in some of the, I don't want to say more recent LEGO games, but like the LEGO games from like post 2015, a lot of those had like cutscenes that would interrupt the level, kind of showing you where to go next. That does happen a little bit in this game. They're more cinematic, I would say, in this game. Here we can glide across. There we did like a gliding takedown. So as I was gliding, I hit R1 to do a takedown while hovering, which was pretty cool. And so now we're going to jump up here into the next area. A bunch more enemies. There's another pipe that we can fire a batarang on. We're just going to pour some water, putting out the fire, giving us access to this next area. There's Red Hood yet again. He's going pretty crazy with that rocket launcher, I must say. Alright, so right here, there's some more pipes that we can clog up. So there's a pipe, we have to use the foam gun, then on the left side we have to use the batarang, so you're kind of using both characters' abilities. There's also an area there on the bottom off to the right that I didn't go down, so imagine there might be a collectible down that route. We only had a certain amount of time to play this demo, so I was trying to make sure I played the entire level here, so I didn't like explore a whole lot here. Here we have to use the bat claw to get rid of this obstacle that causes some acid to pop out. Here I had like a little, I guess you could call it like a bug. I kept respawning into the acid, so I just couldn't do anything. And then it eventually respawned me back here, and that kind of fixed it. So I guess the game kind of recognized that I was respawning and dying in the same spot. And this is the final combat scenario. This is like a big combat scenario that ends off the level, so I will show most of this. I actually died once on this scenario, so this is after I died, and I kind of reset with a full 3 lives here. And this is pretty tough on Dark Knight difficulty. There's a lot of enemy types here. There's shielded guys, and all the while you're fighting all these different enemies, Red Hood is firing his RPGs on you. So on the floor periodically you will see, you know, a little target, and you have to get out of the way to make sure the RPG doesn't damage you like it just did there for me. So yeah, this is pretty intense. You know, you're dealing with like 10 different enemies, a lot of which are different enemy types. You got shielded guys, guys with guns. You've got sword guys as well that'll try to slice you up, and you've got Red Hood firing rockets on you. So it is pretty hectic on Dark Knight difficulty. I'll have to watch some other people's gameplay to see what it looks like on the easier difficulties when there's less enemy types and stuff. But it's pretty tough. You can see another wave of enemies coming in. So it's no joke, Dark Knight difficulty. I'll have to see if in the full game if it restarts you from the beginning of the level. That'll be pretty brutal if that's the case. Like if I were to die, then have to restart back outside at the beginning section where you're trying to analyze the 3 teddy bears. I don't know, because I know that they probably wouldn't do that in the demo. Because, you know, if you died during the demo, then it wouldn't be fun, you know, if you had to restart from the beginning. But we'll have to see how they handle that in the full game. So after we take out all the enemies, there's going to be a cutscene. That's going to be pretty much it for the level. I'll show a little bit of this cutscene because it is pretty cool. It shows how Red Hood becomes the Joker. And this isn't really, you know, directly adapted from a movie. You know, a lot of people are saying this game is, you know, just based on the movies. That's not the case. You know, there's a lot of scenes from the movies, but not everything is strictly from the films. So you got this cutscene. It's kind of a QuickTime event where you have to hold R2 to kind of hold Joker or Red Hood's hand, but he's got a little electric handshake device on, which shocks Batman's hand, causing him to let go, and then he falls down to the acid to become the Joker. I do want to show here at the end, after this cutscene, the end results screen, because this is where we get to see the collectibles in the game. This level was called the Red Hood Gang. I guess the levels are technically called missions in this game. Here we unlock a gold brick, but this time they're called skill bricks. And we also unlock the Golden Age and Costume Party suits, but those were actually already unlocked in the demo. Here you can see Batcave trophies, which are like 5 Joker cards, as well as Wayne Tech caches, as well as a red brick. So those are the collectibles in the levels. There are no mini-kits, it seems, in this game, which is a little controversial. I guess they renamed mini-kits to Batcave trophies, which I hear you can use those to kind of decorate the Batcave a bit. We didn't get to see any of that in the demo, but apparently that's going to be in the full game. But it also seems like there's going to be those Wayne Tech caches and a red brick to find, which I assume unlocks an extra. But yeah, that's going to do it for the Ace Chemicals level here in LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. We were told this is about 2 hours into the main story, just to kind of give you an idea where this takes place. Again, thank you to WB Games for flying me out to Gamescom in Germany to record this footage and make this video possible. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. Like this video if you enjoyed it, dislike it if not, subscribe for more content like this. I'll see you guys next time here on Quick Break Games.